I'm past the point of return, it's for the legacy. You know the road can feel cold, but this my destiny. No more pretending or tripping over excuses. Temper flare, need to take it out on music. On a mission to be prolific, my objective is quite specific.
I'm Jonathan York. I'll be your guide on this journey to resilience. Well, guys, if you hope you're having a great day, morning, night, whatever time it is, wherever you're listening. Sure appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're listening on Apple, top right, 3 dots, click them, follow the show, and I'll be waiting on you Wednesday mornings, 4 a.m., bright and early. If you like YouTube, check us out. If you like video, Resilient Man Project on YouTube, Resilient Man Project across all social media, Resilient Man Project across all podcast platforms, and links to everything on resilientmanproject.com. Whew, that's a lot to get out there. So I got a good friend of mine, somebody that has really been a pretty intricate part of my life, I would say, over the past 3 years or so. We've grown pretty close. He's given me some great wisdom and guidance, and man, I think a lot of this guy. Thank you so much for joining me, Mr. Rich Dewees.
Jonathan, thank you so much. I am so honored to be a part of the Resilient Man Project, to be on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, man. I've always admired when I've got to listen to you speak at church. You're very engaging, and I just admire the way that you speak and you speak to people. So I'm looking forward to these next few months, and Rich is going to help me get ready to do some public speaking on my own, as far as the actual, on stage presence, manners, all that type of stuff, because, he's really good at it. And I think a lot of this guy. So he runs Spartan races just for the fun of it, which is weird, but, it's his thing. And I hear those things are no joke. You've ran how many?
30.
What? I didn't even know that. Holy crap.
Yeah, just 30.
I mean, are they even a challenge anymore at this point?
At this point, they are. I got into Spartan because of my son. My son was a freshman in college. He was taking one of those freshman everybody takes classes, kind of about lifestyle and trying to navigate college life. And he could get extra credit if he did a race. It didn't matter what kind of race, 5K, 10K. Well, they showed a video of Spartan, and he came home talking about it. And I had heard of it, but I hadn't ever looked into it or whatever. And so we started talking about it, looking at the video, and I was in. And probably that first race was the scariest thing I've ever done. Just intimidating, Last thing I wanted to do was have my college freshman son out on this course and fail. And so I trained hard. By the time we got to the race, that class was over, so he didn't even get the extra credit for it. But I was hooked. So that was 2015. Been at it ever since.
I hear the camaraderie at those places is really cool. That when you get those groups of people together and everybody's like cheering each other on and stuff. I've heard a lot about it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the culture is fantastic. Really is a sense of everybody's in it to be their best and to help you do your best, and so I love it.
Me and my wife looked at one of the obstacle course races not too long ago, and I joked with everybody and told them I'd already signed them up. I told them I already signed them up for it. So everybody was getting all freaked out. And then I was like, I never signed them up, and then I forgot. But I really think that we would enjoy it. So I think one of these days we will attempt one. Yeah,
you guys would crush it for sure.
I'm not much of a runner, but when you mix in the challenges and the obstacle courses, it completely changes for me. I don't know. She likes to run marathons and stuff, which is really weird. But I don't know. I can't just run. I mean, I can, but I don't like to just run.
I'm kind of with you on that. I do a lot of it, but I don't enjoy it. So you throw in the distraction of the other things, and it's much more fun.
Yeah, I got since I've started podcasting, I've met a couple of guys that do the ultras.
Mm.
You know, one was like a guy Matthew Rhoda. He's been on the podcast, but he he made a post and he's like, my wife and daughter's out of town, you know, this weekend, so I'm going to run 50 miles Saturday. And I was like, your wife and daughter out of town, so I'm going to run 50 miles. Like that's just, you know, but good.
Yeah,
people.
that's the closest I've come is I've done two back-to-back beasts. So one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So roughly 30 miles over the 2 days. But that's more than enough for me.
Yeah. What's those Spartan races? I mean, let's tie it into resilience a little bit, because have you ever been in one and maybe gotten a little dinged up, or you know, been in one and maybe not knew if you're going to finish and kind of push through? Like, you've been through those situations?
So, well, yeah, and really the very first one, because it's all unknown. You just don't know what's going on, and I trained the best I could, but so a lot of fear going in, and so everything you face. And I failed 4 obstacles in that first race, and back then anyway, every time you failed an obstacle, it was 30 burpees. 30 burpees is no joke. So in addition to the running, and it was someplace between 4 and 5 miles, I think, and the 20-ish obstacles, you throw in 4 sets of 30 burpees, and it was tough.
Do you get multiple chances of the obstacles, or just one shot, and if you don't get it, you keep going?
In general, it's one shot. You know, like monkey bars, you fall off the monkey bars, you're done.
Done. Yeah.
So, but so for me, the Spartan gave me an outlet for kind of my competitive spirit, and it set me up to have a purpose for my training. So if we go all the way back to being a little kid, I was always you know, kind of athletic. I was into watching sports. And so as soon as I was old enough to get into sports, you know, I was kind of all about it. That started with flag football. Interestingly, the only memory I have from my flag football career was dropping a game-winning touchdown pass. It was this trick play that we had set up, and it was awesome, and it worked perfectly. And the ball landed right in my hands, and I dropped it, and I was devastated. But right, that's one of those moments that I don't know, I was 6th grade maybe. I could have just quit all my sports right there. But
amazing how we latch on to that one, like the negative thing sticks with us, you know, and it takes, you know, something very positive to stick. You know what I mean? It's crazy how your mind works like that.
Yeah, for sure. So, but so I grew up playing, right, from the time I was old enough to play. I played football. Football was my favorite. I played basketball up through 9th grade. I wrestled one season, got hurt, and that kind of put an end to that. Went to college, and they didn't have football, which was a bummer. I went to a small Christian school, but they had soccer. So I played soccer and started my very first collegiate soccer game, which I feel pretty good about that whole deal, having never played soccer in my life. That was my life in very real ways. Very competitive. I was always athletic, but I was never great. So I learned quickly that it was important for me to be a good teammate and to try to make the team better, not just with whatever skill I might bring, but with the encouragement and the teamwork and all of that stuff.
Completely lines up with the Rich that I know, for sure.
Yeah. So it's always been very much a part of me. And I went through college and got out, got into youth ministry, which was fantastic, right? Always being active allowed me to take that team building deal and apply it to teenagers and even the little kids, always playing games and whatnot. So you fast forward through all that. I got out of youth ministry into preaching ministry. Look around, and every preacher I knew did not look anything like I wanted to look. And I found myself going down that path. The midsection was expanding, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? I remember looking in the mirror at the age of 40. I just turned 40. Looking in the mirror and saying, oh, I guess this is what getting old looks like. And I didn't like it, but there was a sense of resignation. It just is what it is, because everybody I knew had gone down that path. So ended up moving. We were living in Macon. We were living in Louisville, Kentucky. Moved to Macon, Georgia. Took a church in Macon, Georgia, and met up with a guy in the church who had just gone through a fitness program with another fella. All that was over. That fella moved away, and he kind of let himself go. And he's like, "Oh man, I need to get back into it." So I jumped in with him and did a program called Body for Life, and that was the beginning of my fitness journey. That was 18 years ago.
You said something to me 3 years, so 3 years ago, somewhere there, probably like 2 years ago, and it stuck with me. Because I was about 50, 55, 60 pounds heavier than I am now. And I'm not just exactly sure how it came up, but you said, I said something about, getting older or whatever. And you said, I didn't start my fitness journey till I turned 40. And, I've always remembered that. I've always remembered you saying that to me. And, I don't know if it's like this for everybody, but something clicked for me at 40. Like, my 40s have been really great. Very purpose driven and very reflective, and kind of putting a lot of pieces together from my life and stuff. But yeah, man, that's always stuck with me. I don't know if you were sitting, it was early one morning, we were all the first two there, and you said, and I was like, man, I would have never thought that, knowing the Rich that I know now. So. Yeah.
40 for me was very reflective, was a good word. I'm like, here I am 40, and it felt old. And I'm looking back saying, man, what have I done with my life? And, this sense that all this time had gone by, and I didn't know how much time I was going to have. So I had to make some changes. So athletics, sports had always been a part of my life. Fitness had not. It was just a byproduct of being active. And so at 40, as I began this journey, I have learned so much about resilience just in the gym. And as a result, strengthening my mind in order to strengthen my body has paid off so hugely in every other area of my life. And so when I got to Spartan, right, it was just kind of a natural progression. A lot of fear. If I have one real challenge in my life, it's fear. And it took me a long, long time to figure that out. I always felt like, I'm not afraid of anything. The reality is I'm afraid of all kinds of things. I just never identified it. So I'm getting to the point where I'm figuring some of that out. But Spartan has helped me to face some of those fears. It's interesting. You go through some of those challenges like a Spartan race, and you see where your strengths are. You see where your deficiencies are. You get a chance to go back and make some changes, and then you get to do the next one. And so I'm at a point where they're not overly intimidating to me now, but there's still a little fear at the beginning of every one.
Yeah.
Because
just means you're allowed, right?
Yeah, I'm testing myself, and I like that. So, but you were asking about any particular situations. I ran a Spartan Super, which is the middle distance. So in general, the sprint is like a 5K. The Super is like a 10K. The Beast is like a half marathon, roughly. In the old days, they were not nearly that standardized. So I was running a Super, and it was supposed to be between 8 and 10 miles. It was on the Black Mountain in North Carolina, outside of Asheville someplace. And it was just a normal race. Everything was good until we got to the mountain, and the ascent just kept going and going. And people were just laying on the side of the trail. They couldn't, back in those days, figure out how to get a water station up the mountain. So there was no water up the mountain. And so it just kept going. And I have never had such pain in my my hip flexors. You know, it was just a super unnatural situation for me. And it hurt so bad. And I'm like, what do you do? Well, there's only one answer to that. You keep going.
Take one more step.
One more step. And that's all it was. One more step. And there were multiple kind of false peaks where you thought you were at the top. And you'd get to that crest and it just kept going up. So that's the worst that I've been through.
Yeah. When you're in that situation, you know, I hear, you know, and I think it can be not really in a lot of areas in life, but you kind of tap into a certain place in your mind, you know, that you can't normally get to, you know. Did you experience any of those things?
I think for sure, because everything in me wanted to stop, like everybody around me. I found out afterwards that they took 400 people off the mountain that they had to come and get because they couldn't finish it. They couldn't keep going. But for me, it was as much as it hurt and as much as I wanted to stop, I'm just thinking, no, I'm not going to stop. I started this race and it's not over yet. And there are other people going. I'm going to keep going. You know, I feel bad for these folks on the side, but you know, you put one foot in front of the other and you keep going because I know what's at the end. And it's not the medal, and it's not, you know, the banana and the Gatorade. It's the satisfaction. It's the pride of knowing that I did it. My wife was worried because it took so much longer than any of the other races I had done. But it was, man, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Yeah. And in Spartan, in Spartan circles, they still talk about how tough it was. The other situation, it was a beast in South Carolina, and it was about 50 degrees when we started, and it was raining. That's not that big of a deal. Spartan really, I think, likes the rain. The more challenge, the better for them. But it just kept getting colder, and it was windy, and it was raining like crazy, and it was miserable. And they were pulling people off the course that time for hypothermia. And by the time that race was over, I think I was as cold as I've ever been in my life. And you couldn't, I mean, I couldn't hardly do anything after the race to get changed. I was just like locked up. But the sense of pride in finishing, you know, the worse the circumstance, the more glory in overcoming.
And you carry that with you, right? I mean,
for sure.
You know, that's why I like to say that, you know, everybody's born with a certain amount of resilience, some more than others, right? And your life circumstances and all these things but it is absolutely a skill. Like, it is absolutely something that you can add to.
Yes, no doubt about it. You know, for me, I think I am so different from most of the guests that you've had on the Resilient Man podcast, just because of your background and the connections that you've made with people. A lot of really, really difficult upbringings and circumstances and that kind of deal. That's not me at all. Like, I grew up in a great family, you know, middle class. We weren't rich. We weren't really poor. There were times my dad always worked 2 jobs. There was a period where he was working 3 jobs. So I know that things were tight. But they never made us feel any kind of way. And so my background, when I hear like your story, I'm thinking, man, I had it so easy. And the reality is that I was soft in a lot of ways. Sports is always a challenge, and I credit that for at least giving me a little foundation of this idea of being able to tap into something else. But my chosen profession, going into ministry, I faced challenges that were completely different, that called on me to be resilient. Because in church world, there are all kinds of politics and things that go on behind the scenes that were really, really difficult. Personal attacks that should just never happen, and things that were devastating to me as a young man. But I learned walking through those things. Number one, that not everybody who claims to follow God are good representatives of Him. To separate those two things. And number two is that I can't listen to what everybody else wants to say about me. I have to listen to what God says about me and walk in that. And those lessons were hard, but in some ways, that laid a foundation for me to face all kinds of other things that I've been through. So Spartan for me is just such a good picture of sort of what the rest of my life has been.
Yeah, what you just said, really kind of resonates with me over the past 3 or 4 months. Starting Resilient Man and stuff, and it's not that anybody's been, really out of the way or anything, but I can just feel a difference, with certain people, and sometimes it has me like, for a split second questioning. I have to push that away and like understand that I know exactly who I am and exactly what I'm trying to do. And that's all that matters, And it's not an easy thing to do though sometimes, but I get that for sure, man.
I think it's really cool what you're doing with Resilient Man, because the conversation around resiliency is so all encompassing of life. It's not just I'm a big fan of like David Goggins and Cam Hanes. These guys that are physically, they're doing incredible things, right? And it's easy to think about guys like that when you think about resilience. It's even the stuff I've done with Spartan, is I guess cool in its own right. And you think about resilience, but pushing through those seasons in your marriage where things aren't going quite right, pushing through the bad news about your kid. Those are the places where resilience really matters.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Resilience is a beautiful topic, a beautiful word. And you're right, it is all encompassing, and you can tie it to just about, anything.
Well, and we're in such a challenging place, I think, in our nation. Right, because the topic of toxic masculinity just seems to be under attack, and it shouldn't be, right? We need to continue to be men, and what men do is protect and build and grow and forge, right? And those aren't easy things. And we need as individuals to be pushing forward, but we need groups to come together and be stronger together to do the things before us that need to be done.
Absolutely. Brotherhood is something that's desperately needed, and a place where men can be vulnerable and talk about those things that you don't really want to talk about, and those things that we struggle with, and whether it be porn or addiction or drinking or whatever, name the million things that men are up against that's causing problems in their life, that's ruining their marriage, that's causing them to commit suicide. Like there's so many things, and brotherhood is desperately needed. And I think in the end goal, that's where I want to get resilient, man, is to some sort of a brotherhood online, and then, localized meetups, and, just build that container for men to be with other men and talk about the crap, and be with someone that's just ahead of you, next to someone that's just behind you, and feed off of each other and all those things. So
yeah, that's very much one of the reasons that what you're doing resonates so strongly with me, is that over the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months, I've had a real stirring that I need to exert more influence on the men around me. I need to reach out and forge some relationships, because God's done too much in me. God's given me too much for me not to share it with others. And the reality is, as I'm approaching 60 years old, that I'm ahead of a bunch of guys on this journey.
Sure.
And I don't have all the answers, but I'm coming up on 39 years of marriage. I've got 2 grown children that are making their way in this world. I've navigated different kinds of occupations and work, and the challenges of all kinds of those things. And I have a vibrant relationship with my Lord and Savior. And pick out any one of those things, and I have value to add to some young man somewhere. But you put them all together, and it just feels like I've got to do something. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be on here and talk to your audience, because you're bringing men together. And if I can help them, I want to.
Well, I can speak from absolute personal knowledge, that more men need to know Rich Dewees. So I 100% am behind that. So much wisdom and encouragement, and just, you're a light, man. And more people need to experience the light that is Rich Dewees. So I'm 100%.
Oh man, that's humbling. But thank you. It's cool to hear. I believe that God has done something significant in me. My thing is being uncommon, and I think, right, I look at who I am, and I think I'm the most normal guy in the world. There is nothing outstanding about me on the outside, but on the inside, I feel like I'm wildly successful at everything that really matters. Certainly, that matters to me. And my core values break down to faith, family, and fitness, and everything else in life flows out of those. And I've got those 3 pretty wired, not to, and it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the fact that God has been my source for all of that, and I'm just grateful.
Well, I wanted to, like I said, bring you on and introduce you to the audience and stuff, because you're going to be the first guy that they see in the next couple of weeks when we launch the challenge. And honestly, you're going to be, I think, here with me, helping me and being along for the ride, on a regular basis around here. So I wanted to introduce you to everybody and let you share some of those nuggets of gold with them, and bring you on here. And like I said, man, I know you got a lot to offer. And I mean, I think back to those conversations at 7 a.m. when nobody else was around, morning after morning after morning. And, and I wasn't nearly the, I don't know the right word, but enlightened or whatever you want to say, person that I've kind of become over the past 2 years. But those conversations had an impact on getting me, to this version of myself. So I'm forever grateful. And
well, you have grown a ton in those 2 years. And I look back and I just I kind of kicked myself because it was a new situation for me. And I was trying to feel my way and navigate all that. And I look back and I think, man, I could have been so much more beneficial to you and to the other guys, and could have had more impact. The fact that I didn't totally waste it all is makes me feel good.
Yeah, man, absolutely not. I really cherish quite a few of those conversations have stuck with me. That one about, pushing me to do something about my health and stuff. And I think I just turned 40, and I was like, man, I just turned 40. And you're like, why does Armando, I turned 40? I was like, oh. But man, it's been great. I appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to doing this thing with you in a couple of weeks. And man, I love you, and I appreciate you.
I love you too. I appreciate you having me on, and man, just keep going. Anything I can do to help, let me know. And that goes for everybody out there, man. If there was something that I said that connected with you, if it resonated, reach out to me, reach out to Jonathan. He can hook you up with me, and we'll see if we can't make any difference.
Yeah, for sure. She found value, and rate and review the show, share it, help me grow this thing. If you're stuck in the place and you think that maybe Rich has an answer or somewhere, and you know my story, and you know what I can help with, and you think, oh man, if you hit me on Messenger or Resilient Project, it is just me on the other end. It's nobody else, and I'm always there. And I don't know, man, it's a beautiful thing. My morning prayers, every morning, first thing out of my mouth is, thank you for choosing me for this mission. It's an awesome place to be. It's an exciting time to be me in my life. Like I feel great about everything, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds, and can't wait to get with you soon and let you show me how to get up there and charm the audience like you do so well. So, all right, guys. Well, we appreciate you guys. Like I said, share us and comment, rate us, all those good things, and find us on all social media. Strike up a conversation. Let's sign up for this challenge. I think it's going to be really good. It's going to be, especially if you're like in that place where like, you want to make a change and like do something, but you don't quite know how to get started, or you're stuck in a rut or something like that. Like if you're in that type of place, then sign up for this challenge. There's going to be some value. And like I said, it's completely free, no strings attached. It's just here. Some amazing speakers that know way more than I do, such as Rich, and it's going to be fun. So we appreciate you guys. I love you all, and I'll see you guys next week.
I'm past the point of return, it's for the legacy. The road can feel cold, but this my destiny. No more pretending or tripping over excuses.